Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the City of Parker Council meeting. Are we recording? Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Nope, hang on.
We only have one item on the agenda tonight, and when that's completed, we'll end the meeting, and then we'll reopen in the CRA special meeting and have some conversation about with the CRA money that we've received this year. So if everybody wouldn't mind, please stand in. Mr. Rega, you deliver the invocation.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you with thankful hearts for bringing us together today. As we prepare to meet together, I ask that you fill each of our hearts with your presence. Help us to use the time we have together wisely. I ask that you would remind us to place one another's needs above our own. Please help us to seek the good of those around us, grant us patience towards each other, and help us to be respectful in each other's input. In Jesus' name, amen.
Brother Chapel.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Let's see what we got.
Shall I call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead and call the roll.
Miss Barrett. Here. Miss Barrow.
Here.
Mr. Chappell.
Here.
Mr. Haney.
Here.
Mayor Kelly.
Yes, ma'am. I'm here.
We
I'll be.
we don't have a section for the minutes on there. The approval minutes. I didn't see it.
I've got mine.
Me too.
On the agenda.
Mine goes from roll call to items from items.
It does. It's on,
Well, should we just pass it to the next meeting for approval?
Ms. Barrow, will that be okay? Just pass it off to the next.
That's fine, because there's a lot of this type stuff needs to be corrected.
Okay, sounds good. Before we move forward, Mr. Chappell, I'm glad to see you back in your seat. I appreciate you coming home so soon.
Well, I appreciate the city and all the people that send me cards. It's very heartwarming. And,
Yep. You're welcome, sir. Okay, any items from the audience? If you do, please come to the podium. Otherwise, we'll move on to our first and only agenda item. Okay, yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Couple questions. Thanks for the city council filling the planning commission seats. At the last meeting, the city council appointed Kyle Merritt and I believe it's Mr. Rich Hall to the planning commission. I do have a question, however, with regard to the infrastructure tax committee seats. We still have 2 seats open there, one of which I believe has been open since either late fall, October, somewhere around there. Is the council gonna bring that back for discussion so that we can have a full committee there?
Not today.
No, I know, but at some point. Okay.
I'm sure we will, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Also, with regard to the planning commission, Mr. Chappell, I recall that you nominated Rich Hall. I think Ms. Barrow nominated Kyle Merritt, and you nominated Rich Hall. I don't know if he's here tonight. I've never met him. What was it about Mr. Hall's resume that I mean, I've never seen him. I don't know anything about him. I'm just curious.
well, he's also in the military and
Mr. Chappell, there's no legal obligation for you to comment on this.
yeah, I know that.
Mayor, I'm aware of this individual. I'd be happy to tell you a couple of things.
No, thank you, sir.
I mean, being,
I'm advised by counsel. It's not necessary.
understand.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Next question.
Yes, I have, I need someone to pick up the flags out of my car that a group of us have been putting down for the last couple of years for Memorial Day. Mrs. Coates is going to be traveling, number one. Number two, I understand it was suggested that she leave and never come back. So the city council and or city hall needs to retain someone else. In this
Absolutely.
council room.
Chief Patterson,
retain
could we
someone
get those
else
flags from her when we
at the
adjourn?
meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so we have one agenda item, and I'd like to give you the history on this before we make a decision, council. Over the last several months, I've had numerous conversations with a group of people who love to play pickleball. And they have had one tournament so far over at the sports complex. And they came to me about 10 days ago, and we had a really, really good sit down conversation for about an hour, and now there are about 60 individuals playing pickleball in this group, and they are interested in having meeting the first Sunday in June, and for the 6 months following that first Sunday. So it'd be June the 2nd, which is a Sunday, would be the first time they met. What they're asking for is exclusive use of the 2 left courts, and you may be aware the last time we had a pickleball tournament, they taped off the tennis court, so that would give them the 3rd court on the left. Pickleball from tennis, and then the 4th court would be left available, council, for anybody else that came down there in that period of time that wanted to play pickleball. The court would be available for them. They would start playing in the morning at approximately 0800, and it would end at 5 o'clock, 1700 hours. They are asking that they can have vendors, be like the same ones that we had over here for Easter. Snow cones, coffees, whatever self-contained vendors they wanted to have. They'll tape off the spare court. In return for us letting them borrow those pickleball courts, they're willing to make, at the end of each session, end of each Sunday, that following Monday, they are going to come into the city hall, and we did not talk numbers. They will make a charitable donation to Parks and Recreation for the use of the facilities. They'll clean it up. They'll pick it all up. Before we talk about it any further, I want to tell you why I think we should have food carts out there, food trucks out there. The last time they came, they had an extension cord coming out of the bathroom, so they had all their crock pots on it. And I thought it might be a tripping hazard, so I asked them not to do that. If we put food carts, whatever you call them, at the end of the pickleball, they could eat right there, have their snacks right there, because they put their canopies up and all that kind of stuff. So that's the meat of what I know so far. They did give me a card, and it's in my office, and I'm throwing it out to you because I told them that was a decision that would have to be made by the 5 of us. And if there's any questions, I can answer them for you.
I'd like to ask you, what is pickleball?
So it's if tennis and ping pong had a baby, and a wiffle ball was in the mix somehow, that would be a pickleball. It's got holes. It's got holes.
It looks like a tennis ball.
Yeah.
It's white. It's a little bit bigger, but
Like it's a wiffle ball. That's what she told me.
It's a wiffle ball.
So if somebody wanted to go play tennis on that weekend, they wouldn't be allowed to play.
Yeah, the tennis court would still be available on the right-hand side.
I see.
So it's
Have you
just,
ever seen anybody out there playing tennis?
Yeah, I have.
Oh, you have?
Yes, I have.
Well, I haven't seen nobody out there playing
I've
tennis.
seen-
The most popular thing over there is basketball. By
Basketball.
far, most popular thing is basketball. But I'm open to counsel, whatever you would like to do. I told them I'd call them in the morning with our decision.
Well, my opinion on that is, those were put in there for the citizens of Parker. We knew other people would come in.
Taxpayers.
But that puts it to where, when people are off on the weekend, they're gonna have all summer long, one court to go play on while they take up all the
On
rest of it.
Sundays, yes, ma'am.
I don't think that's right.
Okay, well, you get to vote. We all get to vote.
Just the one Sunday a month, though.
One Sunday a month.
Yeah, not
7
every-
Sundays.
Not every Sunday.
7 Sundays. One Sunday a month.
Yeah.
Be the first Sunday of each month.
Could they reserve just 2 courts and have the other 2 open for
This
tennis?
says
or-
every Sunday for the,
One,
Summer
I don't know who wrote that. One Sunday of each month for 7 months, starting June the 2nd.
that might have been me misunderstanding.
I didn't know there was a flyer.
No, it's just the
it's on
information.
your,
Oh,
So is it going to be just the first Sunday of every month?
the first Sunday of every month, beginning June the 2nd. And that would leave one court, because I asked the same question as Mr. Haney. What happens if somebody that wanted to play pickleball wanted to come down there and play pickleball and there was no court?
You mean tennis?
And they got they'll have one pickleball court available. I asked them, would you consider people coming down to play pickleball with you? And they said that and I don't know how, at their skill level, a novice would not be, it would not be effective for a novice to play. That would be better if they joined a group and learned to play pickleball and then came and played tournament grade pickleball, or what, I don't know what level of pickleball it is, but so that's really where I'm at with it, and I've told them I'd bring it to you, and I brought it to you.
Well,
Well,
I mean,
I go over there quite often when I see the cars there and talk to the people that are playing pickleball. And they seem very,
It's the same people, Ron.
yeah. And I think they would probably make a donation to the city for different things, you know, for the park. And I don't see anything really, if it was every week, I would say something, but.
It is every week,
just one
first Sunday,
Sunday,
right?
And, yeah. So,
I believe it should be like the Peak Park. If they want to rent a place out like that, they should pay up front to
can't rent it.
reserve it.
Yeah.
If we were allowed to do that, we would,
Understand?
but we're not allowed to rent that out. It has to be by donation only, because it was funded by the state.
Well, if you go to Under the Oaks Park to throw a birthday party, you get up there early, you reserve your place.
That's true too.
Like every other taxpayer would.
That's true too.
I don't see where they have clout enough to do this.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Well, I appreciate they came to ask us first, you know, so, but that's why we're here, to decide. Anybody else? Ms. Barrow?
I already said my opinion.
Okay.
does that call for a motion to accept
We,
it?
we would have to,
Public comment?
yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Forgive me, Ms. Reagan, it's been so long since I've been here. Pat Fosick, 1344
No,
Stratford.
you're fine. It's all good.
I tend to agree with Mr. Haney and Ms. Barrow that, you know, it is for the citizens. I hate the opportunity that the city may not get some money for the Parks Department, because certainly we need it. But at the same time, that is for the citizens. Not to mention, now you're gonna have the trucks there, you're gonna have parking. You know, that's gonna draw other people, which is great, that it would draw the residents out there maybe to spend Sunday morning, you know, getting a churro or whatever. But then they're still not gonna have access to the courts, to the things that their tax dollars and the state's tax dollars have paid for. Also, Mr. Kelly, what was the name of the organization?
I don't have it written here. I have the card on my desk.
Okay, and would they be required to provide any kind of liability insurance to?
No more than you and I if we were over there walking our dog.
But we're not competing and setting up an event that's going to draw other people.
Before we would vote on anything of that nature, we'd have to even waste time to find out if we were even gonna do it. If we're not gonna do it, there's no point in pursuing
Okay,
it.
well, just something to.
When was the last time you played there, ma'am?
I haven't played there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
all right.
Have you, Mr. Kelly?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Glad to see
Thank
it.
you, ma'am. Have a seat, please. Yes, sir.
Bob Moore, 1047 Pratt Avenue.
How you doing, Mr. Moore?
It sounds to me like they're already using the place to play all the time, so
They
why
are.
not get something out of it?
Right.
They are.
You're right, that's my point. They're not holding a tournament, no. But if they can generate money for parks and all, it looks like a win for the city, cause they're already using it to play, they're the ones playing the pickleball.
Right.
And if you ask them out there, there's very few Parker people that
That's what I was
are
thinking.
playing.
That's what I was thinking,
No,
say,
they're
they're
coming-
already coming from all over the county to play
Yeah,
there
they're-
now.
They're coming from the beach. We got one couple that comes from Bluntstown down here twice a week. The other people I talk to are like Callaway and stuff like that. So it's really not Parker people using the thing
Correct.
as much as you might think.
They're already using it, so why not get something out of it, my point.
Thanks, sir.
Well, that would be just like reserving all the basketball courts for just a basketball team.
I agree.
No
You're
difference.
100% right,
That'd be
but
no difference.
that's right.
Just over a sport we never heard about.
Yes, ma'am.
Anna Marie Mary Morris, 129 North Lakewood Drive. I think anytime you try something new, you should try it and see if it works. If it doesn't work, then don't do it next year. Give it a try. You know, Parker needs to generate interest and income, and I understand sharing our resources, but this is a good opportunity to generate goodwill and income at the same time. Thank you.
Understood. Thank you, ma'am. Sir?
Gary Hard, 725 West Street. It seemed like a pretty good setup to me. My question is, how much is it going to generate? Any idea at this point?
I'd be a guess if I said anything at this
Okay,
point.
I didn't know.
I mean, like, I lean towards what Mr. Haney said, if we had a flat rate to start with for the use of the court or the time or whatever. I don't know that they'll use all 3 courts, because I think that they start off with a lot of teams and it narrows it down throughout the course of the day. My guess would be, a guess, Bob, just a guess, $5 per person per day.
Okay, I figured it
Times
would be
60.
like a per person.
That's the only way I can
Sort
think
of
of
a
it. When we were
thing, yeah.
but I never during our
Anything's better than
conversation,
nothing.
I
I'm
never
just
said a
curious.
number during our conversation. I never asked for any money, and I never demanded anything. I just said that it would be nice because of the use of the equipment in the court for charitable donation to Parks and Recreation, and they were
Crunched
willing.
Numbers,
Right.
So okay.
I got you.
Cool. Thanks.
Yep. Okay. Do we have a motion and a second?
We do not yet.
I'll make a motion that we accept their proposal.
Okay.
With an agreement, which I would recommend.
The city has an agreement written up for people that use the park already. I didn't know that till this evening, but they'd have to sign that agreement if we passed it. So. Okay, we don't have a second, so it dies on the vine. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, let's see what else we got on the agenda.
I think that's it, sir. And you move
Okay,
on to the-
anything else, Mr. Chapel, you'd like to discuss?
Yeah, I do have a couple of things here. The 1st of June, it's a Saturday at 8 o'clock, we're gonna try a tailgate sale over at the court.
Would we need to vote on that first?
I don't know, do we need to vote on that?
Who's having the same?
Yard sale in the park, first Saturday of each month.
Yeah, I mean, same
It's gonna have to be a
principle.
consensus of the city council before you could do that.
Okay.
Who could do this? Could anybody come and do it? Or you have to live in Parker?
No, anybody can come and do it. I also, I'm getting in touch with a farmer's market. A man's supposed to call me back on that to see if he could start a family farmer's market. So it takes a motion. I'll make a motion that we
We need
try
discussion
to have a
first.
city.
We need to have discussion first.
Okay.
So, anybody on the council? You gotta bear in mind that people would come for the yard sale from outside of Parker to sell them. What about the farm supplies? Would that come from outside of Parker?
The farmer's market, yeah,
Yeah.
that's be coming outside too.
Okay.
And it's all free. I would think we'd try it free, and again, ask for donations for the park. But basically, if they don't want to donate, then, you know, it's just the use of the property. So,
Okay. Council? Anything?
As
Anything?
far as his subject?
Yeah. This one.
No, I don't have anything.
How often would it be, Mr. Chapo?
pardon, ma'am?
How often would it be?
Once a month on
Once a
Saturday.
Actually, I do. That'd be booth rentals and so on and so forth. I think that's Miss Barrow. She fathered the Parker Heritage Day back then. I'm not sure how that went back years ago, but that was a very big turnout. Was there booth rentals, or how'd that work
Yeah,
out?
we did
Yeah.
that too.
Did-
Yeah.
I'm sure you remember Mr. Kelly.
Yeah, he
Mayor
was
Kelly too.
part of it.
Right, but it seemed like if you followed that same blueprint with a farmer's market, it would be beneficial to the city and the the citizens as well. That's all I have.
So ladies and gentlemen, we need a first and a second if we're gonna agree to do
Public
this.
comment.
Ma'am?
So with the booth rentals, they paid the city? And was that at the sports complex?
No, it was through the, Heritage Day thing.
So it was a fundraiser for a nonprofit?
Mm.
Okay, so that's how they could collect money? Okay. Yeah, just, again, something that it needs to be considered, cause you can't say you can't make money one way and then do it the other.
Understood.
Also, responsible for the cleanup in a case like that, Mr. Sloan, would it be reasonable, after we see the, you know, the trash that may occur, that we ask the vendors collectively to provide some sort of cleanup fee, or we assess a cleanup fee in advance?
The, anybody who uses the park under this kind of condition, I would recommend that they sign an agreement, one of which says they're gonna clean up their area.
Yeah, cause otherwise our guys get stuck doing it Monday
Yeah.
morning, and it's trashy all weekend. Thank you.
I'm sure Dennis, our police chief, Hutto would hold 'em my gunpoint to clean up their mess when they get done, I would assume.
Are you talking about the front of the park or the back of the park? Which area?
Where would it be
What
set up,
area?
Ron?
Pardon?
Where would it be set up?
On the other side of the road going in, over by the trees that's there,
Okay.
not on this side of the road. And, the parking would be, before the trees, in that area. Now, that's the people that's coming in, but the people that are having the tailgate sale, they'll be parked along the fence line heading that area.
And you have the staff and everything to take care of this, right?
Well, I'm working on that.
Okay.
Like I say, I don't know what the farmer's market, does. I do know that he has organized the one down at, in town, in Panama City. And, I think he organizes one out in, I think he has two of them that he organizes.
Is he the guy that does the one at the fairgrounds?
Maybe you got two different issues. You got him talking about a farmer's market, which is speculative at this point. And then the other thing is to
Tailgate, yard
have
sale.
allow tailgate with a responsible, you have to have somebody responsible for that
Management is over there.
management of the event, so to speak. So who would that be?
Well, I was planning on having my own garage sale out there, so I guess I'd try to, be halfway.
I'm sorry, so
taking-
you're gonna
take names of
participate,
the people that are
and you
doing it
would,
and
okay, well,
keeping that phone number in case one vendor messes up and don't keep it clean or something like that, I can get a hold of him and let him know that. they
all
need
right.
to-
Well,
My
is it-
suggestion, Mr. Chappell, is that you then would abstain from voting because you would benefit financially, potentially, from, you being involved in a sale. So, I would suggest you not vote on that.
Okay.
Well, my
Well,
question is,
anything I
does it
sell
have to
go
be
back to the
made
city.
tonight?
Anyway,
Do we have to vote on it tonight? Is there a reason why it's got a certain date to know? Or can we wait till the next meeting and we find out more information about all this?
So Mr. Chopper brought it up. I didn't know he was gonna discuss it tonight. This is something we could wait.
yeah, I mean,
At our next meeting, and you get more information for us and kind of get it planned out a little bit better?
okay.
And maybe somebody might want to participate.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it's just a yard, you know, you gotta try it out and see, like, if it does work. If it don't work, you know, you just don't have it. But,
Well, my
I'm just
question,
thinking, of trying to get things for the city here to do, and, I know everybody in the city does have garage sales, at their house or whatever, and, being out on Highway 98, you might get a little more people show up for a yard sale, garage sale, whatever. Like I said, I was planning on doing it myself, and any money I generate will go back into the park. I don't need the money, so I just put it back into the park, buy trees and stuff like that for the park.
How many vendors would be in the, farmer's market?
I have no idea.
Is it like a group of people that all come and do it all at
Well,
one
I'm
time?
sure
Too many
there'll be
unknowns, Mayor, right
people
now.
selling.
We
Yeah.
probably need to talk about this, not in a council meeting, and work out some plans and details, and, decide to, bring it back at another time to talk about.
Okay.
Will that be okay? Okay, and we're gonna go through the closed and normal procedure for,
We didn't ask everybody else.
yeah,
Did you want anybody else to say anything?
I'm asking now. I was about to ask everybody.
I've got
Oh,
something.
go ahead.
Okay, hold on a second.
Thought you were starting
Mr.
something.
Chappell, everything you'd like to discuss other than the farmer's market, yard sales, NASCAR racing, anything else that you'd like to talk about?
Other than, I'd just like to thank all the people in Parker that sent cards to me and my wife. I really appreciate it. It just shows that the city of Parker is willing to help out and do things, so I appreciate it very much. I do enjoy the flowers that the city sent us. They were a very pretty bouquet of flowers, and so, yeah, that's all.
Mr. Haney, you have the floor, sir.
It's about the Mendy property development. Nothing in the plans I've seen is included any kind of fencing or
That's correct.
that's
There'll
a
be silk
concern.
fence during the construction,
Not,
but after that, no fence at all. The state would not permit it.
well, could we as a city kind of put at least a fence around the property, whether it be a wooden picket fence or a chain link fence or something like that?
I asked for chain link and they said no, but what we could potentially do is ask the state again tomorrow before we get started.
Correct.
Would you say if they don't fence it, we shouldn't do it?
I think we should, because there's a lot of well, I mean, the sports complex has a fence around it, and I'm assuming that this is going to be similar to the sports complex.
My
They would-
concern was that someone was gonna fall in there or drive in there.
I'm not talking about the retention pond area. I'm talking about the perimeter of the complete area.
The water's gonna come 5 feet from the edge.
Well, they could drown. I ain't worried about them.
Okay.
What about the house? What about the housing around? The housing around the outside the perimeter. I mean, whenever you build a big project like that, there's always going to be the riffraff, just like there is in Donaldson Point with the bathrooms.
Yeah.
You're going to have a lot
Okay.
of issues, and
You're talking about the towns
the outside perimeter of the
of the property. There's a road in between each of the houses and the fence. Lake Drive and 98 and
correct.
bigger than that.
I was thinking of outside the perimeter of the property, a fence for the. I mean, there's people that live around that area that don't want that the undesirables coming through that park and to their properties.
I'm sorry. Coming through what park?
The Mendy Park, the Mendy property.
It's just going to be a big hole in the ground, sir, full of water.
Right. What about the houses that adjoin? You got a street right here. You got the Mendy property. You got a house over here. What about these folks that live in these houses? The perimeter of the Mendy.
It's about 8 feet wide with a walking track and lights.
Okay.
But I don't know. They did not. I asked about fence and they said no, because my concern was that someone might have an automobile accident driving there
Right.
more than a walk-in accident. But could somebody fall in there? Probably so.
Well, you're not following what I'm saying. I'm talking about the outside perimeter of
He's
the
not
property.
talking about around the water. He's talking about around the property.
If they fall in the
completely.
water, they should be able to swim out. It's what, 4 feet deep, I guess. They,
No, 7 to 20.
well, that,
Mayor, I certainly recommend that some fence be erected of some kind. That you need to have that discussion.
I asked the state. They said no. I will tell you right now, if we have to pay for an 8-foot chain link fence, we need to halt the project, because that's going to be a lot of money. I bet that's $80,000 to go around there.
I wouldn't didn't say so much. That I wouldn't imagine be that much of
It was
a.
5 acres.
Fencing's expensive
How
right
big is
now.
the pond? How
5
many-
acres.
It's gonna take up the whole
It's
thing?
gonna take all but the top 8 feet around the top. And then on this side, there's gonna be a list or a bump before the Cherry Lane townhomes. And then the small pond will be part of it also. And it'll fill, drain into the small pond, and then go under 98 out to the Gulf. But
So the outside perimeters is gonna be wide open.
wide open.
The whole thing's gonna be wide open.
Yep, the whole thing. And see, there were several things that I asked for. The state of Florida said they would not do it.
Understood.
So, if we're gonna stop, tomorrow would be the day. If you feel like we should stop till we get a fence worked out. Because they plan on digging tomorrow. And this has been in the plans for 4 years. Just as drawn.
Well, like I said, the sports complex over here across the street's got a big, nice fence around the
Real
outside
nice.
of it.
Well, on one side it does. My goal would be to have it all the way around with some chain link on the top, but
Right. That's where I was getting.
yes, ma'am.
Did you guys miss me? With regard to the liability, I mean, I agree with you. There's a pond behind your building, behind my property on Lance, that's not a walking path, and there's a chain link fence there. I know it's not required by the state, but from a liability perspective, you've got Cherry Lane right there. You've got residences right there where you've got kids that potentially could come up over that berm
Yep.
and go into that pond.
I
And for, well,
completely agree.
but let's look at it from a more realistic my perspective, from a more realistic standpoint, rather than say, oh no, we gotta stop it tomorrow. No. How long is it gonna take to get it built? A year? 8 months?
No, ma'am, it's gonna be done in 30 days.
The sidewalk, the lights, everything's
The
gonna
whole,
be done in
the
30
whole, it'll be done. As
Okay.
soon as they start digging, it'll be done.
And will it be filled at that point? Is it
It's-
gonna fill from the groundwater
Yes,
up?
ma'am, it's gonna fill
Okay.
from the groundwater up.
So during the construction, however, we're gonna have some sort of fencing around it during construction, right?
Probably silt fence.
Okay, it's better than nothing.
Ma'am, that's of no use at all.
It's not whether or not it's gonna stop somebody, it's the effort that the city puts in to minimize the
There's
liability.
no effort from the city, ma'am. This is a contracted
Okay.
labor.
But the contractor is trying to keep people, it's like putting up a no trespassing sign. It's only as valid or as strong as the people who read it and follow it. But once the construction is over and the walking path is open, to not have a fence, adult, car wreck, child, somebody drowns in there, the city's gonna be liable for it. Period, end of discussion. To not make the effort to put a fence up. And again, do we need to use the infrastructure money? Do we need to use the CRA? Is that beautification? I don't even know if that property's in the CRA. Can't
is.
we do some creative thinking, whether it's 80,000 or 50,000, before everything opens up, to just simply say, I'm sorry? I have to come up here and stand. I would really appreciate it if you.
Ma'am, address the council, please. Thank you.
To, to just simply say, well, the state won't do it. So are we gonna countersue the state when we say that, we're being sued because a child drowned in there? I dealt with that for 35 years. That's what I did in my business. A lot of
You
people
put up fence?
have scuba diving and people die. And you have to deal with that and the
Yeah.
liability to the city.
Yes, ma'am.
To me, it's inexcusable. And frankly, the fact that it's gotten to this point, I don't think I've seen the plan to even know that there wasn't a fence there, Mr. Haney. Thank you for looking at that and bringing it up, because we haven't seen the plan. Once again, no transparency on what's being built.
Thank you,
Mr. Sloan,
ma'am.
Thank you for your.
Have a seat.
I would really appreciate
Thank
if
you,
could
ma'am.
be a little
Please
more
have a seat.
respectful.
You're unnecessarily disruptive, ma'am.
I don't think so at all.
Well, the audience does.
One person.
Ms. Barry, you have the floor.
Did she have something?
Nothing? So, in closing on the fence, what would you, council, like me to do proceeding forward when we leave here tonight?
Me personally, I'm kind of with John on this, and same thing with Pat. I mean, looking from somebody who has a child, of course I live on the water. First thing I did when I first moved there, I was scared to death my daughter was just gonna bloop, just right off the bulkhead, So I do understand that concept.
Yeah.
I was okay with it in the beginning, but now that he did bring it up, you know, now that she's mentioning, you know, people with kids, I'm kind of concerned with the fence issue though. I mean, in reality speaking, even if it's not around the whole property, even if it's just around the water per se, I mean,
Most of the property.
I understand it is most of the property. I get that part. But I do remember speaking on how it's going to be dug, that you could be able to crawl out. Some kids at certain ages aren't naturally smart enough to know that.
10 years from now, you wouldn't be able to crawl out. That'd be such a
It wouldn't matter
such
if
a
you get in there and
marsh.
it's that cold. You're gonna go, and it'll be over in about 3 seconds.
Exactly. You can drown with a tablespoon of water.
You can.
I get that. So now that he has brought that up, it is a concern for
Okay.
me a little bit. Just coming from somebody who has kids, and I'm sure there's a lot of people here who have kids.
Me too.
You know, my daughter's still young, but I'm not going to sit here and say that she's the smartest person in the world, because she's not. You know, she's almost 11 years old. It still scares me. She could walk right off that bulkhead into that bayou.
Okay.
So that it does concern me, because I know there are quite a few people who live there on Cherry Lane and have
There's
kids.
probably 200 or 300 around that area.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I'm kind of glad he brought that up, because it is a concern.
Ms. Barry, you had the floor.
Are we still talking about the same thing?
If you'd like to.
You can talk about whatever your heart desires.
It's you. It's whatever you want to discuss.
Well, I think we need to go ahead with what we're doing and as we go along with it, because I would think it'd take longer than 30 days to get things prepped out over there, because that, you never know with weather. But we can look at trying to find something, kind of figure something out that we could put something around it.
Okay.
Mayor, can I offer some thoughts?
Certainly.
And a question. I think what we're talking about is attractive nuisance in the law. And is it an attractive nuisance? If you build a pool, it's an attractive nuisance. You have to have a fence around it. However, we also have miles and miles of
Ocean.
saltwater coastline,
Mm-hmm.
Deer Point Lake, miles and miles of unfenced Deer Point Lake. So from a legal standpoint, what's the difference? Is the only difference that the city of Parker had it done as compared to the ocean, the bay, the lake? Is that what makes the difference?
Yeah, the city would be constructing or allowing it to be constructed, and once they undertake an operational task such as that, then there could be potential liability that attaches to it. That's why you see a fence around every retention pond that's ever built out here.
So because it's man-made, would it not then fall under the attractive nuisance laws, which
Yeah.
would require?
Potentially, yes.
Because anybody here who's got a pool, the state mandates you have a fence that a child cannot drown in that particular pool. So if it falls under that same category, I don't see where there's a question mark anywhere there. Just my thoughts.
Thank you, sir. Well, I personally think that there's more chance of a car going in there than I do a human falling in there. And I base that on 30 years experience, 7 drownings. Half of those were Earl Gilbert, the rest were in residential neighborhoods, in pools. So, the chief and I have had lengthy discussions on this, because once that car is in that water, you in all probability will not get out of it. You won't crawl out of it. You will drown in your car. Potentially at Panama City, well, I'll give you a quick story. Car goes off the wall at the down there at St. Andrew. They put a diver in the water because they can still see the headlights. The diver gets in the water and the car is only 3 feet under the water, yet the water's 20 feet deep. So the diver swims around the car and swims to the bottom of the water, and there's 6 more cars stacked up under there. No one even knew. They were stolen cars. They had jumped them off the marina, landed in the water, sank to the bottom. It wasn't until the 7th car got on the top. So my point is this: you never know when this is going to happen. The chances, I think, of a person walking down the road falling in there is less than kids playing in there. You know, I always worry that, I used to worry all the time that they would play near the spillway, which to me is worse than a pond, because it will suck you through that 36-inch pipe into the canal on the other side. So I would hope, with the state's wisdom, that they would have known to think about this. But on our closing conversation that we had with the state, myself, Mr. Sumlin, Ms. Moore, I asked them, what about a fence? And they said, nope, no fence. So we can do whatever. If they start digging that pond, to address what Miss Pat said, it will fill with water as soon as the bucket goes in the ground. It will. And they're gonna dig from the shallowest part to the deepest part. And the only reason they haven't started is because they're waiting for a silk sock to be delivered to pull the water out of the hole as the excavator's digging. That's the only reason. So I'm open. I think this is something we really should talk about, because if the vicarious liability is on the city, then I'm not willing to proceed.
Sir, we all,
Ask the state mayor if any retention pond they've ever built
Yep.
does not have a fence.
Not one. Not one. Not one. But if once they walk away and we sign that form, Mr. Sloan, if all of you now say that you think we're liable, I can't do that. I can't be liable for someone's death. I won't be.
Well, the one over there by the Dollar General has got a fence around it there by that old bowling alley.
That's just an overflow pond. It's not a retention pond. It wasn't dug by the
Well-
state. It was dug by the builder.
Well, the lumberyard's got one around there.
They sure do, and that was dug by the builder.
And this one's dug by the city. You think the city's immune? It's not.
Dug by the state in our case. Yeah.
Owned by the city.
Yep.
So if something happens,
We're liable.
we are, okay. I personally don't wanna hold the liability of a child drowning, or anybody drowning, really. I don't wanna carry that weight. I'm sure nobody else does. That's just my personal opinion. I
That's
know
why
I don't
we're
speak,
here.
I know I
No.
don't speak often,
No.
I get that, but when it comes to children, that's something that really pulls at me, so, like I said, I don't wanna carry around the weight knowing that I could've made a decision
Right.
to put a fence around something that could've saved an innocent child's life. Whether it be a child, whether it be an adult, whether it be a senior citizen. I'm not gonna carry that with me.
What would be, they rent fences from places when they do that build and stuff. What would be, if we rented one for a while until we figured out how much that would be?
What, a fence?
Yeah.
Oh, good God. You gotta realize that's gonna be a finished blacktop walking track with really nice lights and garbage cans and potentially a lift station in the corner. What they should have done, they should have put the chain link fence on the inside of the walking track. That's what we asked for. I asked for two things. I wanted the chain link on the walking track, I wanted a parking area, and I wanted catfish. And all I got was a parking area. So that people could park their cars and walk around the walking area on top. That was it.
it's gonna be a 24-hour park then?
Yep.
Well, that's where I was trying to get at earlier, because I was talking about putting a fence around the outside perimeter of the park.
Right.
Where it'd be open from 5 o'clock in the morning to
Well-
8 o'clock at night, just like Under the Oaks is.
Right. I would not support the outside. I would support the divider between the water and the walking track,
That's
so
where
that people
that's
could
where
walk the walking track and not fall in the pond.
Well, if you had the outside perimeter fenced in, it'd give the neighborhood a sense of comfort, because you're bringing a lot of traffic in. Sometimes they're bad people. You know
Right.
that from the park over here across the street with the graffiti and the craziness, drug dealings, and so on and so
Right,
forth.
right.
But if you had a fence around the outside perimeter of the park, and the law enforcement monitored it from 5 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night, close the gates, open the gates, just like they do it Under the Oaks. That's what I was suggesting. That's what I had in mind.
My thing is they have, there's a walking park there at Transmitter and 7th, am I correct? There's no fence around there, right?
No, there's no fence.
And there's houses right there.
There are. You heard what Mr. Sloan
I-
said?
My concern
I've
is
worked
somebody
my
in the
own-
walking park decides they're gonna fall in the
Right.
water.
Yeah.
Right. That's why I said you put the
So-
chain link fence on the inside of the
That's
track.
what I was saying, at least get it surrounding the water portion of it, because like I said, I own a business in Springfield. I've never heard of an issue where those houses that butt up to that walking park have had any kind of problems.
Right.
But that's what I'm saying, my situation is the fence around just the water portion. That's where my concern comes in.
So it would be
Whether there's
I
somebody
think it's
walking
8
around the
feet.
park,
So if you look at it now, you see there's a ditch. There'll be no ditch. The grass will be level with the street with a sidewalk on it. And I think he told me there were 23 lights going around that we voted on a couple weeks ago, so it would illuminate the park. But that chain link is, I'm with you, there's no price on human life. So if that's what we should do, then if that's what you're asking me to do, we'll look for the money. But
I mean, personally, even if it comes to doing something to fundraise for that money or something, like I said, I can't live with somebody's life.
Well, Mr.
Ending
Chappell said the farmer's market gonna make about $80,000. We'll just use that money to
Well,
That's what,
fund the
what
fence.
he said.
if we had donations from Pickleball, you'd had some money in Parks and Recreation. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we could, what if it's to death?
Well, you know, with all those new apartments down by the pier, fishing pier,
Yeah.
there's a lot of kids in there. And
Well, they go
I'm
on the
hearing
pier,
we need to go and put a fence along the beach
sand.
down there so
Right.
kids don't go and
Swim in the
Well,
ocean.
water.
Natural body of water that wasn't man-made.
Right.
yeah,
This
but
is
we
man-made.
did lose 3 kids down there.
Exactly. But it's natural body of water. This is something that we're building.
And that's kind of
Why
where,
do we have a
that's
fence
where I'm
around
in the
the one over by
understanding,
us?
because it is something that we're in control of,
No, you're right, it won't.
so it falls on us. To whereas, like they were saying, a lake, a beach, something like that, there's really nobody to hold liability to.
Well,
where
we don't have lifeguards on duty in the park. you know.
Exactly,
You
and-
swim at your own risk, that's what
Yes.
the sign says.
This is being, like she said, it's man-made. It's the liability falls on us.
Well, that's what we got insurance for too, though.
No, I'm not signing. Ron, I can't agree to hurting somebody, man, I just can't do that. So why don't we give it a 90-day moratorium, and we ask them to wait 90 days until we can find out about the chain link fence? What do you think?
Ask who to wait 90 days.
Well, we're gonna have a hurricane here pretty soon, and a bunch of tropical storms. And,
I think we should just go ahead with the project unless we get to figuring out what we're gonna do.
okay, and but I will tell you, if we're gonna put the fence in, it has to be in conjunction with putting that surface of that road down in there to walk on, and the lights and the drainage pipes and all of these things that have to come from different locations to feed into that retention pond. It's not just a case of doing that. It happens. It has to be done. It has to be engineered. And John's right. I think if we, why don't we wait until the morning and I get a chance to speak to some of the people involved, and I'll have the clerk call you and let you know what the engineer says she thinks she should do. Because Ms. Moore will know the correct answer, because she was there when we talked about the fence, and she was not opposed to the fence. But the state of Florida was opposed to the fence. They wouldn't do it. And if you remember what Mr. Sloan said 4 minutes ago, you look around all of Bay County, every retention they put in has no fence. They don't do it.
Has a fence
Has a fence
Yeah.
put in by the jurisdiction.
put in by the jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So what makes
The
us
city
any-
didn't, the state didn't do it, like
Yeah.
Panama did their own.
Yeah, but the
So
state
that's what I'm
has them
saying,
on,
that's
up
what
and
doesn't-
down the highways.
Right,
and-
wide
and-
open.
No, sir, they have fences around them.
The state put fence around them?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they wouldn't do it for us.
Well, maybe you didn't talk to him nice enough.
Yep.
Maybe I didn't talk to them right?
I
All I
just
can
don't,
tell
I
you
just
is
don't
so
feel
f-
like if everybody else has a fence around their tennis
I
pond, why
can
are we
tell
doing
you
it?
so far that we're 306,000 over budget on the project.
I have a good choice with words. You want me to call them?
Sure.
I don't think that word will work.
Understood.
Okay, well, I'll find out tomorrow, and I get the clerk call you, let you know what they said.
Thank you.
Ms.
Appreciate it.
Barrow? you
Yes,
have
I
the floor.
got something. I'd like to know how the council feels about that camera up there. In my opinion, I would like to see it gone. I don't know how y'all feel about it, but I think it causes more problems than it helps.
I'd never noticed it before.
Well, you're on camera,
Well,
so
that-
watch your mouth.
Candid camera.
Any conversation, council?
is this?
I mean, I don't come to planning meetings, so I like watching them while I'm at work. That's just my personal opinion.
Okay. Anybody?
I guess it's no different than a news crew being shown up. And I'd
Mr. Chapel?
Nope,
rather they get my good side. But
No comment, is that what it is? No comment?
no comment.
Okay, all right. All right, So that's pretty much it. Died on the vine. All right, so that ends our first meeting. And I'll get back with you guys tomorrow.
Are we gonna do the CRA or?
Yeah, you got it right here.
Okay.
So your second agenda is for a City of Parker Community Development Agency. We want to have some conversation about the CRA revenue. Obviously now it's growing at a rate that it never grew before because we have people in there, property being bought and sold in the CRA. And as I'm told this morning, because it goes up daily, the CRA is 182, 191, 53. So let me just let you know what I think. And sitting here thinking about the conversation we've been having about chain link fence. The contract to put that pond in that we signed already is for $1,194,000. It was bid during the last administration at $887,620. That is a difference on the low bid of $306,000 that we would have to find in order to do the project. So we voted to do the project because we know that pond has it's a giant impact on that watershed, because that watershed floods dramatically and people get their homes destroyed. And if we can do something to stop people's homes from being flooded, then I believe that that's something that we must absolutely do the best we can to not let that happen. Not build, not do anything. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I don't often come to the podium. I don't often say anything. But the retention pond, it already floods. I live at 5300 Last Street.
Yes,
There's
sir.
3 houses across. from
It
down
floods
that
it.
side.
It floods.
That water's gonna come straight into my living room. My property value is gonna go down tremendously.
From the pond?
Yes, from the pond. It already comes to my garage. When a heavy rain comes, it fills up the ditches and comes to the garage door. Soon as this is done, I'm gonna have to put my property up for sale, because ain't no way in the heck gonna be where a big pond of water out there the way you described it. How deep you say it might be?
7 to 20.
That is dangerous. No telling what kind of creatures can get in there, mosquitoes. It's not a good idea. I've been there 25 years. I was there when Miss Melendez was alive. Creepy things happen there.
Okay.
Creepy. I had to sleep, didn't go to sleep some nights.
Well, sir, help me here.
I'm just saying, you.
How do I keep those people's homes from flooding? Tell me what I can do to stop the flooding.
Well, it's gonna start more. What I'm saying you don't live there. It's in my interest because I live there. It seems like there's no concern. We just want this done. But I'm not trying to look out my door window and see this big pond of water sitting over there.
Okay.
It's just too much. My property ain't gonna be worth anything.
So the
Matter of fact,
engineers.
when it comes in, or when you start
So
digging,
it doesn't stay full. It goes down as the water level drops
Yeah,
into
but
the
when it
retention.
come a heavy rain,
Right. It's supposed to gather it in the pond.
It's supposed to. That's what the ditches was supposed to do also.
Right.
But then when a storm comes,
So
hurricane.
in the last 3 bad storms that we've had to pump the ditches out across the highway, did your property flood?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it pretty much did. Mine and Mr. Davis and Miss Rose's property. I already got creepy people coming around at nighttime. Sometimes I can't sleep. I have to grab my weapon. People walking dogs, everything. All, and when you said 24 hours, that's, it's just too much. This is done without consideration of the people that live that's directly going to be affected. It's 3 houses right down West 11th Street, mine, Mr. Davis, and Miss Rosa Davis. And like I said, water already when heavy rain, the ditches fill up and water comes all the way up to my
So,
garage.
knowing that for the past several years the properties have flooded, we asked FEMA and we asked the engineers to tell us what the solution was. So 5 years ago we bid the Mendy property. 3 years ago we paid for the Mendy property.
I understand.
We dug it out. We took up all the lumber and all the wood and everything, so it was
yeah,
just
and
dirt.
everything. Yeah, and I watched that whole project.
Then they said,
Develop.
then they said, now we've got the property, we got to put a retention pond in there
We got to.
because that's the only way that the water will go down. It'll all come from the streets and run into the Mendy property pond, and then the Mendy property pond will have an overflow.
It sounds good in theory, but it ain't going to work when the rain start coming down hard. We have hurricanes. Anything could happen with an area of water that large. A fence around the whole perimeter, I don't even feel comfortable with that, but it's better than not having anything. I have to live there, and it's only just a few feet from my residence. That's my place of living. That's my habitat. Don't mean nothing to you all or you, but it means a lot
So
to me.
let me ask you this: if we don't build the retention pond, will the water still flood like it used to?
I don't know, and you don't either.
Sure I do. It's going to flood like it always has. Nothing's changed.
Well, I don't know. All I know is I don't like this idea with the fence. That's why I talked to a council member with the fence. Makes it a little bit more acceptable, but without a fence, and I've been living there, I see what happens over there. It's gonna be a dangerous adventure, very dangerous. You see cars right in the pond, people walking in, a lot of activity goes in. People could even throw a body in there.
Yeah.
We got some crazy people.
Alligators.
Insects, everything. We got some people that I just don't trust a big, large body of water like that. And like I say, is my property won't be worth anything, so I'll have to put it up for sale. I hate to do that, but that's what I'll have to do. It breaks my heart. That's all I want you to know.
All right.
Thank you.
Anybody else on this subject that he just brought up? Because this is the first I've heard of it. Okay. So,
Mayor,
yeah.
I do have some thoughts. Isn't the concept of the retention pond to alleviate some of the flooding from the residences?
according to the engineers,
According to the engineers, and throughout.
There's about
the
20 of
land-
them.
And throughout the land development rules, if a private contractor were to build anything, if the state builds anything, if the city builds anything, one of the credos is not to do any harm to your neighbors.
No harm to our neighbors.
The concept is that we're going to alleviate some of the flooding. I think this gentleman probably should be aware that that's the reason. The reason is to alleviate some of the flooding that is there. The second piece is, somebody was bringing up mosquitoes. Aren't we putting an aerator in the pond to eliminate
that was the
mosquitoes?
plan.
So I
But-
think the engineers have thought this thing through. So the concept is to reduce the flooding at the surrounding properties and to alleviate some of the things like the mosquitoes.
Okay, thank you for your comments. So let me get back to what it costs. And I appreciate your comment. Nope, you're the first person of anybody that said they didn't like the thought of having that pond there. All the others think that not having flooding is a good thing. But anyway. And I do think that there's going to be more flooding in the future. I think there's going to be more because the earth's getting hotter. And we're building more buildings, and where's the water going to go? Right? It's trying to get back in the bayou.
And the trees aren't out there like they were.
So the CRA's got 182, 197. The difference in building the pond is 306, 453. In ARPA, we have 484, 620. And my suggestion to you, council, was we would use some of that money to pay for the project that we bid for the 306,000. Looking at the basic math without getting too complicated, I think that fence will be 80,000. Y'all think it won't. Could we use that money to finish the retention pond and buy a chain link fence. It's in the CRA, and that's CRA funds.
I think you should take it and go as far as they'll go with it over there,
Okay?
the money.
Well, the combined figure is 660, and we need 306. So if I gave it another 100 for fence or less, we would be at 400,000. We'd still have 350,000 left in the CRA and in the ARPA money. And sir, I don't know what to do to stop this pond. There is so many people that this has gone all the way to FEMA in Washington, D.C. to fund this project and to pay us for this. We're already neck deep in debt. We're going to have to get it finished so we can get our money back. Yes, sir.
Well, when you say you're gonna start, because I'm gonna have to sell my stuff, I can't, I just see a bad moon rising.
Can
That's all I
I can't understand what you're saying.
Do you mind if I ask you a question? In simple terms, what's your concern though? Because your concern's the flooding the way it is now, correct?
Well, the concern is, I know when it rains a lot, I don't care what you build, it ain't
But
gonna
isn't-
stop the water. If you saying this pond is gonna be level with the road surface like it is now, is that the way I understand it?
No, it's going to have a berm.
How far?
So the thing about the Parker property, your yard, pretty much everybody's yard, you can dig down and hit water about 14 inches. It'll be damp, right? You dig down about 8 foot, you can pump out of it. So when they start digging this pond, they have to have a special sock to evacuate the water what comes out of the ground. It's going to have a berm around the edge of it. You follow what I'm saying? So it will increase the amount of holding space. Now the pond won't stay wet. The rainwater will go in there from that watershed into that hole, and it will have an overflow pipe that will overflow into the small pond on the left-hand side where the little place we cleaned out in front of the townhomes, and then that will overflow and go under the street into the canal. And the engineers are telling us that it will flow as fast as it's been engineered. Currently, we can't pump it harder than it fills down there.
How's it gonna get over the berm?
It'll go in the berm with pipes, different pipes around that area. Well, rainwater will go into.
I think that's what he's asking.
Normally, when you
doesn't
look in a
have-
retention pond, you'll see a big giant pipe that comes from what looks to be like from underground. That's how your water's gonna pump in. It's not gonna go over.
It's going to gravity feed into it.
Exactly.
You got
So
a
the
pond
thing
right
is-
behind your house we dug. You don't even know it.
The retention pond is going to help your flooding issue. It's not gonna make it worse.
That's right.
The mosquito issue, there's gonna be a pump in there, it's gonna be a fountain. The only way mosquitoes attract is through stagnant water.
That's correct.
So as long as that pump is pumping and that fountain makes it look pretty,
Right.
it's also going to deter the mosquitoes away from it. Mosquitoes are only gonna gather to stagnant water. So would you much rather the mosquitoes attract to the stagnant water that's flooding at the front of your house? Or would you much rather it be pumped out into a nice walking park?
That will
retention
not
pond?
hurt your property
It's not
value.
going
This
to
is
hurt-
beautiful.
It's actually probably going to help your property value, if I had to guess.
Well, I think it's
But
all
I deal with a
pretty
lot
well,
of real estate, so, I mean, I
I
understand.
understand, but.
Everywhere in Parker, sir, that we've built something new, people have had something negative to say about it. And then once it's built, they're like, wow, that's nice.
I don't have anything negative.
Nope,
to say
I know.
about it, You know, sounds
If
all right, but none of the people.
Rager just made a statement a minute ago that I live by. We won't do a damn thing that hurts anybody in Parker. We won't. I'm not gonna allow it. So if I thought it was gonna hurt you, I wouldn't have even agreed to build the thing. Because we put in the land, we're so serious about this, we put in the land development regulation saying that we won't build or do anything that hurts the neighbors.
Well, you all didn't let the Menendez project, like I say, I've been there 25 years. When
Yeah.
it was a wooded area when he was living there and everything, but I won't go into it because it seems like it's kind of fruitless to me to sit up here and try to defend myself. So
No, I
I'm
want
not
you to
gonna-
tell us
I'm
what you
not-
got.
I'm not gonna go, but I just don't like, I just see water coming out of that retention pond across West 11th Street right over to our residence. I just,
Well, you know as well as it stands right now, when it floods, it's knee deep on 11th Street.
It gets pretty deep.
It's
Never
darn deep.
came.
I've been
Yeah.
out there and pumped
Yeah,
it a
yeah,
dozen
yeah,
or more
yeah,
times, and
that's very true.
it's very deep right there. And this
That
is
is
supposed to
true.
alleviate it.
Yeah.
Alleviate it.
Time, I guess, time will tell.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
For your time.
Thank you for yours. So, Ms. Barry, you said you thought we should spend that to finish the project, and then would that include some fence?
Yes, that's what I think we should do.
What do you think, council?
I agree with it.
You think what she says is right? What do you guys think?
I just feel like a fence is necessary.
Yeah, I agree.
really do.
Well, we're gonna put the fence in the bill.
Yeah.
So instead of 306, we'll call it 400, and if there's any left over, then we'll put it back in the CRA or in the ARPA. What do you guys think?
Sound like a plan.
So you need a motion there. to do
Yep.
that.
So in order to do this, we need a motion, a second, and a vote.
I'll
I
make a
thought you were
motion.
gonna talk to, some people tomorrow about fencing before we actually made a decision.
Well, we're talking about the CRA, second item.
Okay, I got you.
See what I'm saying? If we agree on the, if, I gotta tell you, I thought that the fence should have went in there from the beginning. I told you in the beginning of this meeting that we need to have fence in there.
Right.
Not necessarily because I think anybody's gonna fall in, but they could. But I think the potential on an average Friday night when the police chase people through Parker, and they do every Friday night, someone's going to end up in the pond.
Yeah, well, I'm still thinking that, well, I might be beating a dead horse, but I'm still thinking the storage place on Tenno Parkway should have their own retention pond that they monitor and take care of. I know this has been a long, drawn out.
Which one is that?
That
That one, you're absolutely right. That
used-
should have a retention pond.
used to be HBO storage. and
Right,
their-
right,
their-
right.
Their water's
And,
running out.
and I will tell you that the pond behind there, John, it's overgrown. It doesn't drain properly. If you go down North Lakewood, there's cones in the street where the overflow pipe can't possibly drain because the property owner, and I hope he's listening tonight, won't clean out the canal like he's supposed to and repair the pipe.
Back years ago, I called.
It
DEP.
needs
I
to be done. It
called
does, because the
Michael.
people on Lansing get flooded houses because of it.
called Michael Fuller several times. He was, I guess, the head of the DEP in the area.
Yep,
Never
yep, Mike's
returned phone
retired now.
calls. It's a
Yep,
that's the problem. That's uphill from where we're talking about. I assume.
okay.
So it's running down.
I feel like we should put some fence there too. I always have, so. Got a motion
I
and a
made-
second?
I made a
Nope,
motion.
not yet.
We have a motion. We have a second? We have a second. Madam Clerk, you call a roll?
Miss Barrett,
Yes.
Miss Barrow,
Yes.
Mr. Chappell,
Yes.
Mr. Haney,
Yes.
Mayor Kelly.
Absolutely, yes. Okay, and I'll get with you with a balance sheet after tomorrow or the day after. It might take me a week or two to find out what that fence is gonna cost, but we don't wanna put up no garbage. We wanna put up that good black, chain link fence like we put at the sports complex.
Well, even a privacy fence would be a plastic privacy fence. Might be
We wanna be able to see this. It's supposed to be beautiful. This is supposed to be according to the rendition. It's gonna be fantastic. But- Okay, guys, anybody got anything else? All right, thank you for your time. Good night.